sunny spaces, smiling faces, happy places. But every sunny space holds a shadow. Behind every smile are sharp teeth. And every happy place has something sinister lurking just below the surface.
Welcome to We Saw the Devil, the podcast diving deep into the chilling realms of true crime. Join your host Robin as she unravels mysteries that have left investigators baffled and armchair sleuths obsessed. Be forewarned, dear listener. We Saw the Devil is not for the faint of heart. Our unflinching exploration will take you to the darkest corners of the psyche and through the unimaginable depths of human darkness to unearth stark secrets to the harsh light of day. Nothing will be left untouched. Are you ready? Are you sure? We saw the devil.
Hello, everyone. It's Robin. I am here fresh from a Starfield coma with the newest episode in the Chris Chan Saga series. And I know that many of you may know, at least from the previous episode with Iris, and I'm pretty sure I've talked about it 1,000,000,005 times. I am such a huge Bethesda fangirl, in particular Fallout. Fallout 4 is my favorite game of all time. I have collectibles. Wow. I just realized that I'm here to do an episode about Chris Chan, and then I too collect video game memorabilia. I probably have close to 200 or 300 collectible items from Fallout, everything from the metal lunch boxes to plushes to the little action figures, bobbleheads, clothes, like the whole bit. It's sad, really. That's a really sad realization I just had. I'm sorry. But I took this entire week off on vacation. It was also my birthday on Monday. My birthday fell on Labor Day this year, which is kind of odd, but I just decided to take the whole week off. So I wanted to get this episode out a little bit early than just this regular Tuesday, regularly scheduled programming, but didn't work out that way, y'all. I have been eating crap food. I have been barely sleeping. I've been playing with the dogs, cuddling the dogs, and just enjoying life. It has been a long time since I have taken a legitimate vacation. Thank you so much to those who reached out with birthday wishes. That was super sweet of you. But yeah, Chris Chan. I guess we should start with an update on Chris Chan from the last week. And this is so bizarre, y'all. When I thought about doing Chris Chan and covering his story, I actually considered doing this almost 2 years ago. It was kind of in the works. And then a guy by the name of Gino Samuel, he put out this 80 episode, 5 billion hour long documentary series on Chris. And I'm only scratching the surface of a lot of the Chris stuff. If you want the full in-depth picture of Chris, go to Gino Samuel is the user on YouTube. And I mean, it covers everything with full videos, a copy of every video, every phone call, all of it. But yeah, it's so wild to me. I never in a million years expected Chris to actively be online again. So I feel like on the Chris Chan episodes, I feel like we should do an update on a sightings. We should do a sightings thing. You know what I mean? Where it's, what did Chris do or like on Twitter or whatever platform this week? And just an update for you guys. He's been liking some bisexual and trans My Little Pony content. And I laughed so hard in particular when one random Twitter user, a bunch of them were freaking out and being like, oh my God, Chris Chan liked this. Chris Chan liked this. And one person was like, don't panic. No one panic, but Chris Chan has been here. And it's just seeing the sheer amount of people who are tweeting Chris on social media is just mind-blowing to me. And I can't help but wonder if it's the younger generation that really wasn't there for the Chris Chan drama. And they're just hearing about it on the news and stuff because it did make national news when he was released. And they're like, oh, that's someone I have to follow and check out. Because I think it's pretty safe to say that us veterans who were there in the trenches as all of this stuff was going down are like, please, y'all, don't do it. Perform a stop it. Get some help. Do not engage. I don't think really any of the old guard wants anyone to interact with Chris Chan whatsoever. Am I going to smoke a bowl before I talk about Chris Chan? You betcha. And I'm on vacation and all is well before anyone gets their knickers in a twist. Everything said and done, y'all, one of two things happened here. Number one, Chris Chan got away with raping his own mother who has dementia. He doesn't have to register as a sex offender or on any sort of register or be on any sort of registry. He will serve no jail time, nothing. he will experience and face no legal ramifications whatsoever. Option number 2 is that this incredibly mentally ill, low to mid-functioning autistic man has been in isolation in jail for a little over a year, with his mental health surely just plummeting day by day. And we know how that usually goes with Chris, right? So please do not talk to the creatures, okay? If there is one thing that I hope anyone learns, well, there's obviously more than that, but if there's one thing that you take away from this podcast, if you're even slightly curious about talking to Chris Chan, is that any person, for the most part, I would say 90% of the people, whether they had good intentions or bad intentions, very much regretted talking to him when they did, because bad shit happens. Almost any person who Chris talks about in any capacity gets fully doxxed by the entirety of the internet, like 4chan and Encyclopedia Dramatica and various websites. So just steer clear. Okay, so we left off in the previous episode where the real Chris Chan was having a battle with Liquid Chris, a troll who was pretending to be the actual Chris and owner of the Sonichu intellectual property. He became known internet-wide as Liquid Chris. And I mentioned how, in comparison to the other trolls, that Liquid Chris was more of a mosquito than a murder hornet. I mean, a lot of it was just kind of funny and satirical. And more importantly, Liquid Chris has the voice impersonation skills of someone who belongs on Saturday Night Live or Mad TV. Because, y'all, listen to this clip of Liquid Chris from a YouTube video that he made and posted proclaiming to be the actual owner of Sonichu. This is one of the things that got Chris Chan so pissed off, but you've heard a handful of Chris Chan clips in this series so far, but now listen to Liquid Chris, just some random troll online who just mimics him so perfectly. Here you go.
It's come to my attention that a troll claiming to be me, the real Christian Weston Chandler, has posted fake, defamatory, and lying and false videos on my former channel. I denounce these. I've been receiving fan art to my true and honest address. How else will I get fan art if I was not the original creator of Sonichu?
Liquid Chris started out recording himself doing this because everyone knew who Chris Chan was, and so he did a really good impression. So he started recording himself for family and friends, right? And then it picked up. Someone sent it to Chris, and then Chris lost his ever-loving shit. Liquid Chris was a troll, sure, but you have to respect the sheer level of effort in mimicking every little nuance of Chris's speech patterns, voice, and mannerisms too. He looks like Evan Peters as Jeffrey Dahmer cosplaying Chris Chan. And that is one of the wildest sentences I think I've ever said. Now, I also mentioned how Chris was trying to steal Liquid Chris's girlfriend, Kacey, and how he pretended to be Liquid Chris to talk to her. And if you pause to think about it, y'all, that's actually pretty frightening. I mean, beyond catfishing, right? He was pretending to be a girl's boyfriend, to being Kacey's boyfriend, another guy entirely. He was having phone calls with her as the boyfriend, and then also having phone sex and talking about their sex life with her as this other person. That is predatory as fuck. Now, granted, Kacey was a troll. Everyone knew what Chris Chan was doing. This was not a secret. And for some reason in his mind, he also thought that Kacey wouldn't tell the difference in their voices, I guess. But it definitely goes to show just how manipulative Chris is willing to be in order to get back and retaliate against someone that he feels has dishonored him or has done him wrong. So Chris is talking to a girl named Kacey, who is Liquid Chris's girlfriend in real life as well. Like in real life, they were boyfriend and girlfriend. Chris is mad that he has a lady friend who is with his arch nemesis. So Chris challenges Liquid Chris to a sing star challenge, doing covers of random songs. They would each play an instrument and sing and then upload it to YouTube, challenging one another. And again, 99.999% of what Liquid Chris did was just kind of funny. It was satirical. It was a satirical play on Chris Chan as a human being, his ego, his lies, his hypocrisy. It's still wrong, and it was done in order to get a rise out of Chris, but it wasn't blue spike level trolling. So Chris is talking to Kacey frequently now, and Kacey tells Chris that she's with Liquid Chris and whatnot. You know, she plays stupid when Chris pretends to be Liquid Chris to talk to her, but she really tries to befriend him. And in return for this woman being nice to Chris, just being base level, decent human being, Chris recorded this for her.
Hey, Kacey. It's me. I'm sorry my computer seems to be acting up. I love you, Kacey. You're a good girl. And the more I talk to you, the more I appreciate you very much. And there are so many things yet you have to learn about me, but it will be learned in the near future when you come. By the way, my parents will be here when you come by later. So they'll be very happy to meet you. You know, at least my father will. He's a nicer parent nowadays, even though back in the old days he used to be such a stick in the mud. But seriously, yeah, he's a good guy. My mom's a good woman too. Be a redneck sometime, but you know, you earn her trust. She'll be good to you. But I'll welcome you. Lovingly with open arms. I'll see you later. I can't fight this feeling anymore. I've forgotten what I started fighting for. There's something drifting up to the shore. I'll see you later.
Okay, so Chris Chan made that video. He used a filter on it, so it was just like black and fuzzy. You can't see who's talking, and sent it to Kacey. Kacey, for whatever reason, utilized that point in time to confront Chris about basically being a catfish and pretending to be her boyfriend. And she confronts him on a phone call. Now, I'm going to play just a couple minutes, a couple minutes of this conversation that they had where she's confronting him about all of this, because a couple interesting pieces actually come from this. And this is something that you will see Chris Chan repeatedly do through everything. He's already done it numerous times throughout his interactions with trolls. And that's number one, anytime he gets caught in a behavior that he knows is wrong, he'll blame his autism. Secondly, all of his apologies and everything is just they're all just completely empty. He means nothing. He just apologizes in the moment to try to smooth things over, but he quite literally does not have any remorse for anything. Also, I think that Kacey, at least in the early part of the Kacey saga, because yes, to Christorians and people who follow Chris Chan, this entire thing with Kacey is known as the Kacey saga. She is quite disliked by a lot of people. A lot of people can't stand her voice. Girl, I know the feeling there. And they say that it's shrill and that she's just annoying. In this phone call, I think it's pretty much like Meryl Streep move over. Kacey is not even her real name, but Kacey deserves an Oscar for this performance. I'm going to go ahead and play her confronting Chris now. And fair warning, y'all, there's going to be a lot of clips in this episode. Quite a few. Anyway, here's Kacey confronting Chris for being predatory.
I can't believe you did that. What is wrong with you? I mean, you could have just told me something. You didn't even have to make him look so bad. Just, what the hell?
Kacey, I'm sorry. I was trying to spare your feelings.
No, you weren't. Why didn't you just tell me from the start? You wanted me to come to your house, and just what were you gonna do? Rape me? Or what were you going to do?
No, I was only going to show you the true face of the real man.
Why the fuck would I love you? You tricked me too. Just.
I know. I understand. I'm sorry.
No, you're not, because you would have told me this shit, and I mean, you had so many chances. You were playing with me. You were playing with my heart. I mean, what? So you could get laid out of it? So you could be not a virgin anymore?
No, I was trying to be your friend.
How is that being my friend? Tricking me. I mean, you were pretending to be the same person you're trying to save me from. I mean, why would I want to be your friend, much less your girlfriend? I mean, what redeeming qualities do you have that you have shown me now?
I can't say off the top of my head, but I would do my best
No,
to
of
make up
course you
for what I
can.
have
Of
done.
course you can. You know what? You're just disappointed because now I'm definitely not coming. You had ulterior motives, or else you would have told me something first. The first thing you said, the first thing was, "Hey, come see me." What? What the
Yeah.
hell? I mean, do you not get that even, let's say he is doing all these evil things to you, do you not get that trying to steal a girlfriend is wrong? Did you not get that maybe I love him? And I mean, you were trying to say you weren't going to rape me, but you're like, we can go into my room and go straight to lovemaking. I mean, when were you going to tell me? When I came in the door? You think I wasn't going to freak out or something? You think I wasn't going to notice that you're not him? And that would be embarrassing for your parents. What? Did you not even think of them?
I thought of a lot of things, but I can't think of everything at once. I have a mental problem.
Even
I'm
think of
actually
anything
slow in the
yourself.
mind sometimes.
No,
Okay.
that is not a good excuse. That is never a good excuse. You do not blame shit like that. You knew what you were doing, and I know you were doing what you're doing. You were being a selfish little prick.
I'm sorry I gave off that impression.
Well, what did you think
Sorry.
you were going to do?
I just wanted to show you the face of truth.
But you know what? You're showing me who Christian Weston Chandler is. And he's just a fat fuck who doesn't care about me, who doesn't care about anyone's feelings. You're just a big chuckle fuck.
I've had a lot of emotional traumas in my lifetime in the past with women. I mean, I've even lost some over the internet.
I wonder why. I wonder why you have. I mean, if you treat them like this,
They died.
Yeah, probably because they wanted to get away from you.
Like Sarah Jackson died in an automobile accident. I'm serious. Her sister told me that. Sarah Cassandra McKenzie / Panda Halo died in brush fire.
I can totally believe you. And you know what? I don't care. I don't care if he's not the Sonichu character. I don't care. I love him. And he's been there for me. And you will never, ever be him. He can at least play guitar. He can sing to me. He's been the one with me. You haven't. The only time I've had with you is you trying to trick me and get me in bed. What the fuck? What the fuck?
I understand and I respect your decision. You are welcome to stay with him, but still you have to know that...
I'm welcome to stay with him. I get your permission. I get your permission to stay with my own boyfriend. Where are you coming on?
Yeah, you're right. I sometimes have a bad choice. Sometimes I don't know when to use my own words. I mean, as far as the real-life autism is sometimes...
This is why no girl over there... Don't you blame that? Don't you blame that? Are you serious? Do you not know how many autistic children I've worked with? And you know what? They don't do that. They don't fucking do that. And you know what? I don't even think you have autism. I think you have something else. I think you have something that just makes you so narcissistic, that's just so... You're so full of yourself. I mean, that's not autism. What the hell is wrong with you?
I find that interesting for a couple reasons. Obviously, the way he responds to her, the piece where, and she caught it too, where he's like, well, you're welcome to stay with him. His phrasing kind of gave off a sense of ownership, and that's something that he does with a lot of his quote-unquote gal pals. If any of them are dating another guy, he speaks of them like they are things to collect, like they belong to him. Just true narcissism on Chris's part. Also, like I said, it's interesting because it's so similar to how most trolls interact with him. Someone will enter the picture and troll Chris, do the ultimate wrong, and he will do something so sincerely awful and fucked up and creepy, and then they have grounds to call him out on it. And so many recorded phone calls and emails are basically Chris apologizing and groveling for doing something utterly disgusting to someone who was there to troll him to begin with. It is a mess. So the next day, Chris posts 2 videos. One was directed at Liquid, Chris, and Kacey, where Chris Chan tells Liquid that Liquid needs to come clean, tell everyone that he is not actually the creator of Sonichu, and also stop selling merchandise. He also tells Liquid directly that Kacey really loves him, but that she should have known that Chris Chan wasn't actually Liquid Chris. He legit blamed Kacey for the issue there. He was pretty much like, well, she should have known that I wasn't you if she loves you so much. That's the level that Chris Chan operates at. After this, Liquid Chris and Chris Chan got on a phone call where they proceeded to argue. I'm going to play a little clip from that now.
Look, Chris, stop it. Stop this game. You know that you have not...
Game. I've been being true and honest this entire time, and you have been playing a dirty game.
I am not playing a game. I am the true honest one here. I am the original true creator of Sonichu and Roshu in the world of Quickville.
No,
Just trying.
no,
That was
me.
You have never been to Manchester High School. You have
Yes,
never been to Piedmont Village Community College. You're taking the same class as Kacey is over at Community College in Washington, D.C.
No, I am not. I don't even live in the Washington, D.C.
You are in D.C. I know it.
No,
she knows
no.
it. We all know it. Now stop it.
Yeah,
If you do not come clean right now, I am going to get my father in on this murder, and you are going to get fucking arrested, thrown in jail, and you will not get to live the peaceful, happy life of Kacey that I would like you to live, because Kacey really cares for you, man.
That's not true. I am on a roll. I was on a roll, and you have just been. And you know what? What did you even, you keep making all these threats with the police against...
I am not making up any threats. Everything I tell you is true, honest, and legit. You are the one...
You are not being true, and you are not being honest.
Okay, this is it. I gave you the last warning. I gave you the last response. You just busted my balls again. You're going to jail. I'm sorry, Kacey.
And y'all, here's the thing. Liquid Chris was the most benign troll out of all of them. He was never mean like the others, who Chris would repeatedly go back to. He would go back to them time and time again. However, Liquid always got the biggest rise out of Chris solely due to Chris's unbridled narcissism. The number 2 position for Chris's wrath fell to Clyde Cash, who at this point in July, August, was back on Chris's radar, and Chris had also put out multiple videos basically railing against him and how much he hated him. Those are all, again, available on YouTube if you want to watch those. The end of August and the month of September, Liquid Chris more or less fell off the planet, only to resurface in October, where he posted a hilarious video of himself tied up with ropes, pretending to be kidnapped by Ian Brady Anderson, the random name that he gave Chris Chan. He reenacts an entire scene from the Dark Knight movie. August, September, and October all basically consist of Chris Chan and Liquid Chris fighting for the love of Kacey. Chris Chan, of course, just wanted Liquid Chris to disappear and stop stealing Sonichu, and he was ultimately pissed off about that. But he also was trying to steal Kacey away from Liquid Chris. Now, Kacey was aware that Chris Chan wanted her affections and that he was hitting on her and flirting with her. And she was kind of, at times, giving him hope, purposefully, saying things like, if you want to be with me, you need to ... Chris would upload videos of himself trying to do push-ups or pick up things to display his strength, quote unquote. Almost all of Chris Chan's beliefs surrounding why women are attracted to men at all, to begin with, are basically caveman level. He believes that women are just quiet, meek, and want strong, men. I mean, it's quite literally incel level behavior and belief system. Chris also met Kacey in real life at the Fashion Square Mall to make their peace. Again, Chris Chan met Kacey in real life. Kim Wilson also came along. And here's a first-hand account from Kacey of how her first meeting with Chris Chan went. Quote, "He sweats a god-awful lot and gets tired just walking. You notice the medallion right away. He comes speeding towards us. He looks me over, rape eyes my breasts, and tells me, 'I thought you'd be a little more,' and then he made a hand motion showing a skinnier girl. 'But you're gorgeous.' And I'm like, 'What the fuck? You think I look more what?' And he says he thought I'd be skinnier, but I'm hot. We go outside to take pictures. He puts his arm around me. I sob on the inside. He shows me his eyes up close. They both look hazel. They are not different colored. So we walk to Starbucks. He draws me a picture of Sonichu. He shows me the medallion. He constantly brushes his knee against mine and tries to rub my side, back, and shoulder. Rape eyes are constant. I send Liquid a text message to call. Liquid calls, I confess where I am, and Liquid starts screaming and demanding to talk to Chris. Chris grabs the phone and starts screaming in a crowded mall. People are uncomfortable, staring, and walk away. I'll let Liquid detail the call. Liquid talks to me again, and he is a jerk. I cry and ask him to go to the bathroom so I can sob. Inside, we call Liquid and ask him what he told Chris. I smudge my makeup and go back out. Chris is coming towards us. I act like I'm upset and crying. Chris mentions how Liquid sucks, etc. He says he has to go. He grabs me and pulls my face into his chest, and he smells like horror. He repeats that now we are friends and he will help me out. He then smells my hair and brushes his lips against my ear. I look onto Kim with horror. She looks at me in horror. Chris bounds away without so much as a goodbye. Overview. Chris touches me a lot. Chris is boring and goes on and on about Sonichu and how I'm meeting the true creator. Chris repeats about his stupid eyes. Thinks he's better than Liquid because both of Liquid's eyes are green. Chris does not approve of Liquid. Chris fucking tried to kiss me. Chris scares everyone. End quote. But Kacey wasn't all bad. Once she befriended Chris, she legitimately did try to get Chris to turn his life around. She tried to help him get a job, clean his get him to clean his room, and do better as a human being. She made attempts at getting Chris to log offline and get a 20-hour-a-week job to supplement his social security check. She also tried to help overhaul his diet and help him understand that grilled chicken sandwiches and salads from fast food restaurants and McDonald's aren't good for him, because he had absolutely no idea. I'm going to play a clip of how Kacey interacted with Chris most of the time.
I'm pretty sure you can get anywhere, up to 20 hours. You can probably get that online.
All right, I'll look into it online, and I'll on the application I'll put 10 to 20 hours on application.
You better dress nice too. Are you going to dress nice for this?
Yeah, I'll dress nice for the interview. Yeah.
Don't wear your medallion.
Okay,
I know
well,
it's a
not
part
wear
of
my
you,
medallion.
but that's not going to be allowed. Like, I can't even wear necklaces, and I'm a girl. And don't draw on the applications.
I will not draw the application.
Okay, I just hope this is really sinking in, because I have a feeling you're not going to do this.
It is sinking in. I'm going to look for a job at Walmart or Target and fill out applications. I'm going to put in a maximum 20 hours. I'm
Okay,
going to
good.
do this.
That's good.
Casey,
Yes,
thank you.
you're welcome.
I want you to know, if even though it's tough love, it's all sinking in. It really is. I'm going to do it.
Okay, I
want
hope
to
you
know,
do.
I appreciate you giving me the tough love that I needed.
Okay. Well, I've got to go now, so I hope this all sinks in, but I've really got to go. So,
Yeah, it is. Okay, I'll talk to you later.
okay, all right, bye.
In another call with Kacey, the topic turns to health.
Yeah, I'm taking Lipitor try to keep my cholesterol maintained. But it's like, my cholesterol wasn't really that high. But, when I started Lipitor, I just felt like, probably a good step to keep it down.
Did your doctor recommend that?
It's like, it's an optional thing, but he's like, if you want to, it's a good idea. So I've been taking Lipitor for, I don't know, a few years now.
But you're 27. That's not something you should worry about at 27.
Cholesterol.
But no, you don't get it. Most 27-year-olds don't have to worry about it. That's for old people who can't help it.
I don't know, yeah, but this is like a few years ago when I was spreading over bad cholesterol and trying to maintain it along with exercise.
Maybe you should just start eating healthier. What do you eat?
Most days like chicken sandwich or
From
I eat
where?
like greens.
Chicken sandwiches you make, or from where?
Grilled chicken sandwiches like from McDonald's or IHOP.
You know that just because it's grilled doesn't mean that it's good for you.
Well, it's better
right?
than crispy.
It doesn't matter. It's still bad for you. I mean, that shows a serious problem. You could die from this. You need to stop eating all that fast food. I mean, how much? Okay, you've got to eat something other than chicken sandwiches. What else do you eat?
Oh, I eat salads.
Okay, salad doesn't always mean healthy. I mean, where do you get these salads from?
Yeah, they're like side salads from Wendy's or McDonald's.
Those aren't healthy, Chris. Just because it says salad, no.
It's got those are real vegetables.
I mean, that's good and all, but still, there gets to a point where even modern medicine cannot help you because you've destroyed your body so much.
Oh, so much more stuff for me to talk to my doctor about.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't talk to you about this already. This is why people don't live past 30 or 40. You know that, right? I mean, do you at least do exercise?
I do exercise. I walk about half hour to an hour a day. around the neighborhood.
Well, you need to get your cardio up. You need to break into a jog or something.
That's pretty strenuous. I mean...
No, it's not strenuous. Your body should be used to this. You just need to get your heart rate up. This is why I want to become a nurse, because I see people doing stuff like this and I want to help them, because this stuff, it hurts me on the inside.
On the next phone call, Kacey actually remembered that Chris doesn't exercise and has a horrible diet. And so she tells Chris, hey, I also want to lose some weight. We should go jog together. I don't live very far from you. I'm happy to come to your house and we can jog together in the neighborhood. Chris was basically like, that sounds strenuous. But he did confide in his mom that he was afraid that his quote unquote man boobs, his male breasts, would present a problem. So he wanted to buy a sports bra. And he did. Now, Chris was talking to a couple gal pals from the Sonichu forum still. Of course, they were all trolls. This is what Chris told Kim. He said, also, I did my shopping today. I haven't been able to draw or color today yet, but I will set some time tonight. I found the sports bras at Walmart, 3 packs for $10 a pack in lieu of going into the fitting room. I asked the nearby female employee to measure my bust size. I'm a 43, so I got a 3 set of 42. I've been wearing one for a try. It's so comfortable, and my man boobs do not bounce as easily. I jumped a few times to see. Oh my god, wow. This material feels so good on my skin. It's like a guilty pleasure or something. He then took pictures of himself in the sports bra and sent them to Kim Wilson, who promptly shared them with Kacey. Here's Kacey discussing the sports bra with Chris.
When I took the pictures that you just received from Kim, before I went and took those pictures, I wanted to think about it further. It's like, so, yeah. I shaved the hair on my belly, yeah. I got hair on me, so, yeah, I kept the chest hair and whatnot. Then after I shaved off my belly hair, then I just spent a whole minute just looking at myself without my shirt on, and yet with my bra on, studying myself. At first I didn't know what to think, so it's like, that's why I stood in the mirror and looked and took a good long look there. And then I went to feed my cats and shut the mail into my mailbox, and that was like about 15 minutes later. Then the thought came back.
Wait, did you go outside in your sports bra?
No, I put my shirt back on before I went outside. After I had the image from what I saw in the mirror came back to me, and I was like, yeah, I look pretty good, and I can accept this. I can get used to this, and then I just felt confident for when I stood for the camera and took the pictures and I later sent to Kim. I'm gonna get some more, but
why are you getting more? You need more?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't want to end up wearing the same one every day, I mean,
you're gonna wear them every day, not just for exercise?
Yeah, I'm gonna exercise every day.
Oh, but so you're gonna wear them all the time, though?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that. Yeah.
Okay. I know,
yeah,
normally they're just for sports.
I know.
But I mean, I guess you wouldn't have to worry about getting a real bra, because all the frilly, lacy stuff.
I find it really interesting and actually kind of nice that Kacey didn't shame him for this. She didn't, go off the chain on him. She didn't shame him for that. And if you've been listening to this entire saga, you know that Chris has had some gray areas with his gender identity. Also, a lot of self-loathing since he was younger. And at least it seemed that way. His father, Bob, was so homophobic that Chris associated anything having to do with a penis as being gay. Thus, he hated his own penis. If you recall, he lamented having to go underwear shopping for himself because he couldn't stand looking at the men on the underwear packaging. Trolls attacked Chris, made Sonichu gay fan art, and created fake videos of Sonichu at a gay pride parade in San Francisco because that, ultimately, is what gets the biggest response from Chris. And for the sake of this video and this episode, I'm not including the 10 videos that Chris made uploading to YouTube just in these couple months that we're covering in this episode, being like, I'm straight, I'm straight, I'm straight. I hate gays, I hate gays. Years prior to this, Chris wore his mom's bra and underwear, and the pictures of that were leaked on 4chan and the internet. And then when trolls eventually told his father Bob about it and sent the photos home, and Bob found out about it, He asks Chris, this is a direct quote, "You're not some kind of faggot, are you?" I mean, that's heartbreaking. And I almost kept a clip in this episode of a group of trolls call Chris's house. There are like 3 trolls on the line, and Bob says, "Get your black ass off of here," out of fucking nowhere. No indication that the person he was talking to was a person of color. If it had been, who fucking cares? But Bob out of nowhere said, "Get your black ass off of here," to a random group of trolls that called their house late at night. Bob was a horrible human being, to say the least. So that's why I struggle so much with Chris and his gender identity and which pronouns to use, because at this point in the story, Chris still goes by he, him pronouns. So that's why I'm referring to Chris as he. Later on, Chris will go through a tomboy phase. And later on, Chris will actually transition and be trans. And I have a lot to say on this topic, and we're going to discuss this more in depth in a future episode when we cover the transition piece, but it is a whole thing online of actual trans people from the community being like, nope, Chris is not actually trans, he sexualizes it, that's not actual gender dysphoria. And then there are other people who have been following Chris Chan for a long time point out all of these instances of where Chris really kind of experimented and talked about his gender dysphoria from a very young age on. So it's like this entire thing. And then also Chris, a lot of his behavior has indicated that he feels like he would have a better chance at women, at dating women, if he were to become a lesbian. And a lot of people say that he said that directly, and that is a lie. He actually did not, but he's kind of roundabout insinuated it. It is it's a very interesting topic, but it's one that we'll cover more in depth when we get to where Chris actually transitions. So moving on for this episode. Now, remember Vivian Gee, the troll who at first emailed Chris and told him that she was the creator of Sonichu, but she actually later befriended him, like semi-befriended him, and she's horrible and mean to him, cusses at him all the time, but then at the same time does try to be nice and befriend him. Well, she was back on her bullshit in August and was publicizing her YouTube channel that she was creating Sonichu audiobooks. And to bypass copyright laws, just in case Chris pulled together a penny and tried to come after her, she was giving them to people for free if they donated $19.99 to her art team. And that enraged Chris. So he sent her repeated emails. He called her a bitch and a whore, basically all kinds of lovely names. And by September, Chris was determined to make his own audiobook to combat hers. Also around this time, Chris was on a call with Kacey and Barb interrupted the call. It was actually a really big glimpse into the state of the Chandler household. I'm not actually going to play the full clip because it's 8 minutes long and it's available on YouTube if you want to listen to the whole thing. But in this call, Chris and Kacey are talking, and then Barb comes in to talk to Chris. She asks for his help with cleaning, and Chris immediately begins to make a million excuses as to how Sonichu is more important. I have to do this and post this. And Barb maintains kindness and explains to Chris that she realizes that she's had a lot of health issues, but that she spends the free time when she does have the energy cleaning the house and doing some small tasks. She talks about how Bob puts her down, how Chris's dad abuses and screams at her and doesn't help her with anything that he can't take full credit for. Chris clearly does not want to listen or help with the house at all, but Barb tells him that she's let him ride long enough and that he has to contribute by helping clean. The task? Clean the silverware, vacuum, clean the shower walls, clean the carpet, just help do anything. When Barb leaves the room, Chris picks the phone back up and tells Kacey that his mom was bitching at him. And Kacey replied, because she heard the whole thing, well, your mom made a lot of good points and that you should be helping your parents. And Chris didn't want to hear it, but Kacey doubled down and told him that he should start slow and clean his room, clear the stuff off the ceiling and the walls, that he's an adult and he needs to help. If he's going to live there, he needs to have an adult room and help around the house. Chris then divulges that the sink has been filled with dishes for years, again, for years, and that they use and rewash plastic utensils because the regular metal silverware is buried in the bottom of the sink and has been for years. Oh yeah, and also that they occasionally get bugs. Kacey pointed out that that was extremely disgusting and just pure laziness. and she was supportively trying to get Chris to start by cleaning his room. And in response to Kacey trying to motivate him to start small and clean his room, Chris tried to sell 2 of his Guitar Hero controllers online on eBay, but a troll actually got a hold of the listing and started corresponding with Chris, and naturally, Chris went into predator mode as soon as he learned that a girl was involved. Because of course he did. By the end of October, Liquid Chris steps back in and posts a video to YouTube, again pretending to be Chris. In it, he thanks Kacey for quote-unquote keeping Kacey warm for him to receive her love and affections. Chris took this as a challenge and posted 2 videos to YouTube where he told Kacey that he loved her and wanted her to be his girlfriend, despite the fact that she had put up very, very, very hard boundaries about them just being friends at this point. As more proof of his narcissism, he tells Kacey that if she does decide to go with Liquid Chris, that he will let them and give them his blessings. And I find Chris's wording of the entire statement in that video very interesting. Every time he wants a girl who has a boyfriend, he rationalizes it by saying that he is allowing them to be together. Almost like he is the god and, okay, well, she doesn't want me, I will allow her to date somebody else. It's really gross. It's really kind of scary. It's really kind of telling. With the return of Clyde Cash's trolling, on November 1st, Chris posted a video that actually offended a great deal of people. In it, there's a photoshopped scene of the New York City skyline with the 2 World Trade Center towers. He's talking in a grungy voice and says, "Your fame shall fall like the Twin Towers." Yeah, that one didn't go over too well, as one can likely imagine. Then on November 3rd, one of the biggest moments in Christory happened, and that is Chris and Kacey were on a phone call talking, and suddenly Kacey's like, "Hey, my dad wants to talk to you." And so she passes the phone to her quote-unquote dad, who is one of her random friends. And it is like 30 minutes of Chris being grilled. I mean, every single part of him just picked apart. His ego, his narcissism, his lack of wanting to do anything for himself, his lies, just everything. And this man pretends to be a retired Marine and basically just pretty much tears into Chris. Every single response Chris gives him, he picks apart. It is absolutely, basically epic. Kacey's dad pretty much calls Chris a piece of shit, says that he's pretty much worthless, that Liquid Chris is the better person, is the better match, and that he would never in a million years allow her to go out with this guy and wants her to stop talking to him. And it's amazing that Chris Chan actually believed that all of that was real. But the entire purpose of that is, for whatever reason, Kacey wanted an out from Chris, and this is the route that she took to get it. In response to that call, because Kacey's dad remarked of how weak he was, how not strong, and how quote-unquote fat and unathletic he is, Chris starts uploading videos of himself lifting 12 packs of soda like he's doing a bodybuilding workout. He posted another video asking for Kacey to give him another shot. But then he publishes a new comic episode, Sonichu, showing Liquid Chris coming after him with a knife. In the comic is Chris Chan. Chris draws himself into the comic, and it shows him pulling out a gun and shooting Liquid Chris in each leg, whisking Kacey away from him and then moving on to some romantic moment. He and Kacey have a conversation about it, and she is not enthused or impressed. This also marks one of the most severe instances, at least up to this point, where Chris expresses the desire to commit violence against someone. Liquid Chris uploads a video announcing that he and Kacey are getting married and that her father gave them his full blessings. And then finally, Kacey has a call with Chris, and Liquid Chris shows up on the call. So naturally, since Kacey's off the market, she and Chris would have one final phone call. And Kacey calls him out on November 10th, which would officially mark the end of the Kacey saga. And here is that call.
I mean, you're not even going to live to see 30. Why would I want to be with someone who I know is going to be dead in 4 years, 3 years? My family hates you. You're lying to me. You're nasty to my friends. You lie to my friends. I mean, don't think I don't know that you don't lie to Kim. Don't think I don't know you don't lie to me. I don't think you'd have luck with anyone to tell you the truth. So you cannot tell me that you want me to be with you or that you love me, because you're just gonna die wasting your life playing video games and doing nothing. You've wasted your life and you think you're good enough to date anyone, including me? I mean, you're freaking weak-willed. You're not even good enough for society. I don't think you're ever gonna get anything. You can't fight for what you want. You definitely didn't fight for me. So you know what? I don't need this at all. Fuck you. I don't even want to be friends because you are a total waste of space. And you know what? I'm getting married tomorrow, 2 p.m. And it's all thanks to you, because if it weren't for you being such an ass, I wouldn't see what a great person Chris is and how much he really does love me, because I had someone to compare him to who doesn't give a shit about me, who only loves his video games and himself. I don't even care, because I don't even have anything to say to you, because you know what? You won't hurt about this. You'll be over this by tomorrow. I will never see anything that shows that you're even hurt by this or you even care. I'm going to go ahead and get married tomorrow. I'm going to be happy, and I'm going to live my life. And you know what? You're going to be doing the same thing in 5 years. If you're not dead. I bet you I'll never be mentioned again by you. You're not going to be upset. You're not going to do anything. I bet you anything. I'm going to see a new video being like, oh, who the hell was Kacey? I'm going after... I don't even care anymore. I don't care. So, have fun making a video about needing a new girlfriend. Because I'm done. Peace out.
And you know what? Kacey was not wrong. Chris made exactly one video about Kacey, saying, I love you, give me another shot. And then he was back to his old self, never really mentioning her much again. He did not care. November and December mostly consisted of Chris reaching out to both Nintendo and Sega and imploring the Sonichu fan base to help make his dream of a game being made into a full reality. He began to update the Sonichu comic and website almost daily, and even made a mailbag page on his website to answer questions he was supposedly receiving from fans. Trolls, naturally, made up the lion's share of messages that Chris would go on to receive. And we know this because some of the emails were from notable people like Kim Jong-un, who apparently took time off his busy schedule from killing his entire family to write Chris a question. Also, Jeffrey Dahmer came back from the grave, as well as John Wayne Gacy. And then one of my favorite pieces of Christery. Y'all, I don't know how many of you remember, but 2009 was a simpler time. A variety of important cultural moments occurred that year, like Barack Obama took office, the app Grindr launched, Kanye West interrupted Taylor Swift's VMA speech, Jersey Shore premiered. This was a hot minute ago, right? There was also a vast lack of oversight of content moderation all across the internet. Didn't matter where you were, but especially when dealing with enterprise and corporations. And one such company was a digital billboard company that held its operations out of Times Square in New York City. It allowed users to send a picture with a small payment, and the picture would be shown on the billboard in the middle of Times Square. I repeat, in the middle of Times Square. The troll Clyde Cash, to everyone's shock and amazement, decided to partake in this offer. He submitted a handful of pictures, including the infamous ones of Chris with Megan Schroeder, him hulking out in his bedroom, a photoshopped photo of Chris in a gay bar, and also a screenshot from the infamous recycling video that he sent Ivy, where Chris is holding up a cup of his own semen right before he drinks it. The caption? Cheers, New York. That was a surreal moment when that happened. Also around this time, a troll by the name of Jack Thaddeus was putting explicit gay ads on the Quickie, which enraged Chris. So naturally, he published a video about it to YouTube, which I'm going to play here in a second. Before I do, just explaining the Quickie. So the Quickie had a group of people that Chris was in contact with. They were trolls, more or less. They'd started the Quickie, which is still up, by the way. The Quickie is where I'm getting a lot of the research done for this series, on top of, Geno Samuel, on top of just individual research in YouTube, the original videos. But Chris was on friendly terms with a bunch of the guys who ran the Quickie. Now, they were all trolls. And so when other trolls would come in and want to troll, they would talk to the guys at the Quickie. They were kind of playing both sides, as it were. One troll wanted to troll Chris by putting explicit gay sex ads as advertisements on the page, so that when Chris himself logged in, came to the Quickie to write a page or log in, or anyone would stumble across Sonichu and whatnot, they would immediately be met with gay sex ads. So Chris, as you can imagine, was super upset about this.
You both think you're so righteous because you're trying to overthrow somebody who hates homosexuals. You know what? I'm okay with associating with homosexuals, but not beyond friendship. I'll be willing to be friends with homosexuals. I even have a gal pal who's a lesbian, and she's a good friend as well. But I'm just saying, nothing further with the male homosexuals. And as long as they keep it behind their closed doors, I don't give a damn. And both of you, Jack and Clyde, both of y'all want me to like homosexuals more a little bit, but both of you, you're not putting the aspect of anybody within that life who's living that lifestyle. You're not putting any of those people in bright light. If anything, you're making the light of homosexuality so much goddamn worse. You both are definitely evil seeds that just need to be put into hell. So not only would both you, Clyde Cash, and Jack Thaddeus be doing me a favor, but you'd be doing your whole goddamn homosexuality community a favor by committing suicide, killing yourselves, and rotting in hell.
Yet again, Chris is telling people to commit suicide and burn in hell, and this is a side of Chris that is coming out more and more at this time. But that being said, congrats, Traveler. It may have taken 3 full episodes, but you're finally out of 2009. I wish I could say that things only get better from here, but they don't. It just keeps getting worse. So at this point in the Chris Chan saga, we're heading into a period of time called the Asperchu saga. And the Asperchu saga entailed an artist by the name of Alec Benson Leary starting his own parody of the Chris Chan comics. Liquid Chris parodied Chris Chan's YouTube videos by dressing like him and recording the exact same thing word for word. Liquid Chris showed Chris Chan a caricature of himself, pointing out his hypocrisy and ego via the use of satire. He never really directly attacked or insulted Chris, save for that one last phone call between them where he called Chris a bunch of names. Alec Benson was a little less subtle. It was pretty in your face, but it was basically more of the same thing. He created a satirical comic based on Sonichu and Chris, and then directly pointed out to Chris how hypocritical he was being about all of it. So, the Asperchu saga. Alec Benson was primarily an artist, but he was also very much appalled by Chris Chan's behaviors. So he created Asperchu, which, yes, Asperger's, and Sonichu, a mix of the two. And that's because Chris mentioned his autism nonstop and used it as a crutch for everything bad that he did. Alec decided to make Asperger's the same focal point in his comic. His character is yellow just like Sonichu and dressed in the blue and red long-sleeve shirt that Chris Chan has lived in for most of his adult life. He even created his own wiki called Asperpedia. And as y'all know, Chris doesn't really care if a human, be it male or female, offends him. The only thing he cares about is his comic and whether people are trying to steal his work. Anytime he feels that his intellectual properties are being stolen, he lashes out. And the Asperchu saga includes a couple people like other trolls such as people by the name of Evan, Sean, and the admin of Asperpedia, Mao. And all of these trolls over in Asperchu land were also friends with the guys who ran the Wikipedia. Again, all of the trolls, regardless of who they are or when they come in, they all know each other. So Chris naturally began to rage on YouTube about the Asperchu comics. Again, this came in right after the Kacey saga, and so Chris forgot her pretty quickly. Chris was so maddened by the fact that there was someone new on the block copying him that he stopped replying to the mailbag fan mail page on his site and even stopped drawing new Sonichu comics as a whole. And that's Chris Chan's MO when he's fully, truly bothered or stressed out by something. He stops updating everything and just kind of sulks and then makes 5,000 YouTube videos calling out someone and cursing at them. Alec mailed Chris an Asperchu medallion, and that just pushed Chris completely off the edge. So in early November, he posted a video to YouTube threatening to kick Alec's ass. And what's so interesting about it is that Chris is now just frequently threatening violence against people, something that he would only occasionally do before for, Clyde Cash on the worst days. But he would never default to that so quickly. But my favorite is that's not all. He even released a video as an attempt to brainwash his fans. He claimed that he had a Spanish phrase in mind, that he made a YouTube video and then at the end was like, "This makes me think of a Spanish phrase." And it was really just backwards English telling his followers to hate Asperchu and love Sonichu. It was literally like, hate Asperchu, love Sonichu, but backwards. And a reminder, y'all, this man at this point is going on 28 years old. So Alec and Chris end up having a phone call, and it goes something like this. Alec calls Chris and has a kind and firm tone and wants to talk. He tells Chris that the threats of violence were disturbing, especially the part where Chris tells him that he hopes the spirit of his dead dog Patty comes back, kills his family, and eats their souls. Chris only half-ass apologizes. Then they argue over characters in each of their comics, which one stole which one from the other. Alec claims that Asperchu is Sonichu's brother, and that it's more of like, fan being a fan and creating kind of like an offshoot, that he doesn't claim that he's related to Sonichu or the same person. And then also there are two friends in Asperchu comics. One of them is openly gay. Chris hated that and was super offended by that. Chris ended up thieving those two characters and added them to his own comic, completely and ironically just bypassing the fact that he's doing exactly what the other guy actually accused him of. Also at this time, Chris goes out to a local social club meetup at his church and meets a girl in real life. When he's talking about her online, he mentions her as the Wallflower, and that name kind of stuck. So the internet, once that email got leaked, when people were talking about his new girl infatuation, they would start calling her by the name the Wallflower. And at this point, Chris's life was seeming up. He had a girl that he was, kind of interested in and excited about. So he started replying to his mailbag. He starts updating the website again, a little bit more frequently. And one of the questions that he got in his mailbag was, how do you feel about Obama repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell? And Chris replied, and this is a direct quote, "I'm straight. I would never join the military. Let Obama repeal the policy, then the homos can go die in explosions." A little bit of a strong opinion there. And then we get a terrifying glimpse into Chris's mind. And up until this point, Sonichu, Rosechu, all of the other characters that Chris has created for his comics, the entire world of Quickfill, they've all just been characters. Chris has never given any indication that he believes that they are anything different than just drawings that he puts down on paper and animates their stories. And the clip that I'm about to play, it's a short clip from like a 30-minute phone call with Alec. Alec and Chris began to talk fairly frequently on the phone, creator to creator, and they would always argue about each other's work and who stole who. But Chris admits to Alec that he finds cartoon characters to have their own thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Like, Chris actually believes that these characters are sentient beings. He then becomes frustrated when Alec pushes back against it. So let's listen here.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit, that was still a movie, and everything in it was predetermined by the movie writers and the director. And I mean, there is no, alternate cartoon world in reality. I mean, cartoon characters don't actually think and feel things.
You obviously are naive about that because you're not understanding that possibility of that universe actually existing.
So you do believe that when an artist creates a cartoon character, that character actually becomes real? Is that what you're saying to me?
Within that universe, yes.
But the universe is fake. I mean, the Asperchu universe exists on paper and in my computer. It's whatever I write it to be.
Okay, well, still, what if you actually conceived a child with your girlfriend or wife? Then, would you feel that you actually own that child, even after you had raised it from being a baby to, let's say, late teenage years, where that child will actually feel more like an individual, independent being.
Chris, you do understand that a child, a human being, is substantially more than a comic character, right? They're not the same thing. They're not even close. Of course I would name a child. Children are real, and children are not our property. I mean, if I had a child, I would give it all the love and support it needed, but it is its own person, or he or she, I should say. Whereas a comic character is just, it's whatever you draw on paper or in Photoshop.
What if it was what she was on the other foot? What if Asperchu created you?
Well, then I'd be a comic character myself, and I wouldn't have any thoughts or feelings. So that's a moot point.
You think that comic character would not have their own thoughts and feelings?
No.
Are naive.
Chris, you have told me that you think that a comic character is fundamentally as much of a person as a real human being. That is the naive thought.
No,
I'm the writer. I'm like the god of the Asperchu world. I decide what goes on in Asperchu's world. I decide who and what Asperchu is and what he thinks and feels, if anything, which he doesn't, because it's still just a character on paper. And when I put the pen down, Asperchu stops being there. Nothing exists in Asperchu's world that I haven't drawn.
Boy,
it's naive to think that there's anything more. I think we should agree to disagree on this point, because we both have our own thoughts on it.
I find this to be one of the most telling moments thus far. You have this 28-year-old, medium-functioning, autistic man with no friends whatsoever. No supportive family. He lives in his bedroom almost 24 hours a day, literally at least 23 and a half out of 24 hours a day, in this fantasy world that he has created, working on the comic book and responding to countless trolls, nonstop. Whereas in the beginning of the Chris Chan saga, Chris graduated college, he was friends with Megan, that era. He at least had his feet somewhat planted in reality. He was present in the real world, to real world happenings. He spoke of the comics as, I am the artist, I am drawing my art. And whether it was due to his surroundings, his autism, his additional mental illnesses, the lack of concern and love from his parents, or even the merciless trolling from people like Blue Spike, Liquid Chris, and Joshua Martinez, this is one of the first moments where you see Chris confusing Quickville and his characters with actual reality. He's confusing cartoon characters with actual sentient beings. And we are going to stop right here in the middle of the Asperchu saga. There's still so much more to go, but thank you guys for listening thus far. This entire saga so far has been like a roller coaster, right? We've been going up and up and up and up and up so slowly for the last 8 episodes. And then finally, we're about to reach the top of where the batshittery just goes absolutely 5,000 miles an hour and derails. So thank you guys for listening. I find it so interesting. Again, I said it on the last episode. I'll say it again. I find it so interesting that so many people are actually interested in this story because they never heard it the first time around. And I'm getting emails from people that, listeners that haven't really reached out before. And they're like, this is crazy. Thank you so much for doing it. And then shout out to listener Shannon, who's like, please, dear God, do anything else but Chris Chan. You are not alone in that. And girl, you only have like 7 or 8 more episodes to go. I promise we'll get through this together. Next up on the docket, guys, I am actually going to be sitting down with reporter Justin Glanville. He is also the host of the NPR true crime podcast, Mary and Bill, an Ohio cold case. To give you a synopsis of that, the summary is as follows. In 1970, 2 university students who'd recently fallen in love were murdered in a Columbus apartment in a crime so brutal it drew comparisons to the Manson murders of the previous year. Their names were Mary Petrie and Bill Sproat, and the case has never been solved. Justin Glanville, whose parents knew Bill Sproat, investigates the case alongside the victim's 2 sisters. Justin will be joining me and discussing his investigation efforts and what it's been like to investigate the cold case, the murder of his parents' friend. So that episode will be out next. But that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much again for listening, and I will see you guys later this week. Until next crime.